Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all honor, glory, and praise unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachakodash. Double honors and respect to the elders and to the apostles, great millstone. Peace and blessing to all Akim that are preaching and teaching this word with 100% truth and sincerity, and unto the men, women, and children that are listening and learning, and unto the Ba'ath Dabadah, the elect house of David, that is scattered abroad. I give you my utmost and sincere salutations. Okay, so the topic of this lesson is, what is melanin and what are its benefits? Okay, so we're going to go into it here. Read a little bit, I'm just going to get a couple of scriptures, and Lord willing to be edifying to the body and to the sincere listeners, and this is not going to be too long of a lesson, just going to read a little bit here and there, and then just get some scripts. Okay, so melanin is a substance present in the skin that produces pigment. Each person has a different amount of melanin in their skin. The variation of melanin is due to genetics and other factors. So we're going to go ahead and get into this here. Okay, so melanin is a substance in the skin that produces skin pigmentation. Scientists have identified three forms of melanin in humans: eumelanin, pheomelanin, and neuromelanin. Eumelanin and pheomelanin are in the epidermis, which is one of the layers of the skin. By contrast, neuromelanin is present in the brain. Melanocytes are the cells that produce eumelanin and pheomelanin. Cells known as keratinocytes then carry melanin to the skin surface. In people with dark skin, melanocytes produce more melanin than they do in people with light skin tones. And what are its functions? Pigmentation of the hair, pigmentation of the skin, of the protection of the eyes and the skin from sunlight. Melanocytes produce melanin in the so-called basal layer, which is the innermost layer of the epidermis. Keratinocytes then carry melanin to the skin surface. So let's see here. Differences in skin pigmentation between people are due to the ratio of eumelanin and pheomelanin, as well as the number of melanocytes. Because pheomelanin is responsible for the pinkish color of the lips, nipples, the box, and the rod glands. Different hair colors result from different proportions of various forms of melanin. For example, hair color, melanin type and amount: black, large quantity of eumelanin; brown, a moderate quantity of eumelanin; blonde, a very little quantity of eumelanin; and red, primarily pheomelanin with only a small quantity of eumelanin. So the benefits: protection from UV light. And eumelanin protects the skin from UV light, wherein pheomelanin does not. As a result, people with more pheomelanin, such as those with blonde or red hair, and light skin, are more likely to experience sun damage. Protection against reactive oxygen species, are more commonly known as ROS. Melanin also has protective effects against reactive oxygen species. These are byproducts of cellular processes within the body. And it has an ROS. Okay, so there is an accumulation of ROS in the cells. They can cause cellular damage and stress, and it also has links to aging, cancer, and diabetes. Melanin is able to pick up ROS that form when UV light stimulates oxidative stress on the skin. Other benefits of it. Found that, okay, for example, 2016 on rats found that herbal melanin may be able to prevent the formation of stomach ulcers. This suggests that melanin could play a role in the protection of the gut. Additionally, previous research also showed that melanin may contribute to the reduction of inflammation of the body, preventing injuries to the liver, and may also play a role in the immune system. Okay. Let's see, other factors that can affect the level of melanin in the skin include age, UV light exposure, inflammation, change in hormone levels. Okay, now when it comes to having too much melanin, as they say, okay, now let me see here. Okay, here we go. At times, a person can have too little melanin in the skin. This results in the skin becoming lighter. Healthcare professionals may refer to this as hypopigmentation. The two examples of hypopigmentation are vitiligo and albinism, which are both the biblical leprosy. You can read it, and we'll get this in the book of Leviticus, the 13th chapter, here in a second. Vitiligo is a skin condition that results in white patches of skin due to the loss of melanocytes. Albinism is a genetic condition that causes people to have very little or no melanin pigment in the eyes, skin, or hair. So one is a skin condition and one is a genetic condition. So vitiligo is something that develops, while albinism is something that you're born with. Now, can a person increase melanin levels? Well, it says there does not appear to be a safe way to increase the amount of melanin in the skin, although tanning is an indication that the skin is releasing melanin, but it is not a safe way to increase melanin levels. The Skin Cancer Foundation notes that tanning increases the risk of developing skin cancer. Okay. Now, let's see. Go over here to a skin cancer that's the most dangerous type, and it's called melanoma. Hold on a second here. Let me close this real quick, because it just seems like the more pages I have open, the more it slows down and freezes up. If I have less pages open, then it just starts to move again. Okay, it's not wanting to move. Oh boy. Well, we'll read this one here. All right, so differences in skin cancer rates. White people, Edomites, white people appear to have a generally higher vulnerability to skin cancer than other groups. This is probably due to the lack of melanin in lighter skin, making it easier for UV light to cause damage. By contrast, deeper skin tones with more melanin filters at least twice as much. UV light researchers believe this is why skin cancer rates are lower in people of color. Let's see here. We go back up since this thing wants to freeze and play games with me. Okay, let me there we go, so you guys can see the words a little bit more. There. So okay. And here are the different rates for specific types of skin cancer. You got the non-melanoma skin cancer, which includes squamous cell carcinoma and basal cell carcinoma. Most common skin cancer among African American and Asian Indian people, and the second most common among Hispanic, Chinese, and Japanese Americans. suggests that overall it comprises 30 to 65% of skin cancer among dark-skinned people and 15 to 25% of skin cancer among white people. BCC is highly prevalent among white people, comprising 65 to 75% of skin cancer among this group. In lighter-skinned individuals, it may appear pink or pearly. Okay. It makes up 20 to 30% of skin cancer among people of color, but is more common among Latin, Chinese, and Japanese, and then black people. BCC is closely correlated with UV exposure and occurs more often in people of color who live in sunny climates. Now, melanoma is fairly uncommon, accounting for just 1% of all skin cancer cases. However, it's a much more deadlier type of skin cancer due to its predilection towards spreading throughout the body. Melanoma rates have risen over the last 2 decades for all races, according to the Center for Disease Control, the CDC. This increase is highest among white people, Edomites. Melanoma is about 20 times more common in Edomites than in white people than in black. The lifetime prevalence of melanoma between races is 1 in 38 for white, 1 in 167 for Hispanic, and 1 in 1,000 for black. Alright. Now, let's see. Difference in survival rates. In the U.S., systemic racism also means that race and ethnicity influence health outcomes. Racism creates socioeconomic inequity, reduces access to health insurance, and negatively affects the diagnosis and treatment of skin cancer. So, let's look at the different survival rates for BCC and SCC and melanoma. Over time, mortality rates for BCC and SCC have improved, making deaths from these types of skin cancer uncommon. However, previous studies have shown this improvement affects black people less consistently than white people. Mortality rates from SCC are disproportionately high in people of color, which estimates ranging from 18 to 29%. Now, melanoma, although it is an uncommon type of skin cancer, melanoma caused 75% of skin cancer deaths. Back in 2016, study found that between 1982 and 2011, non-Hispanic black people with melanoma had the highest mortality risk for this type of cancer. Let's see. You know how Esau Edom, he be putting in lies with his pseudoscience, but more to the point, you know, what I'm getting at here is that white people, so-called Edomites, they're more prone to getting skin cancer than we are because they lack that melanin. And it says that melanoma is a dangerous type of skin cancer. It develops from the melanin-producing cells known as melanocytes. Typically occurs in the skin, but may rarely occur in the mouth, intestines, or eye. In women, melanomas most commonly occur on the legs, while men in the back. Melanoma is frequently referred to as a malignant melanoma. However, the medical community stresses that there is no such thing as a benign melanoma and recommends that the term malignant melanoma should be avoided as redundant. Okay. It says right here, the primary cause of melanoma is UV light exposures in those with low levels of skin pigment, melanin. And UV light may be from the sun or other sources such as tanning devices. Okay. Those with many moles in history of affected family members and poor immune function are at a greater risk. A number of rare genetic conditions such as xeroderma pigmentosum. Oh God. Oh, that looks terrible. It's a genetic disorder in which there is a decreased ability to repair DNA damage such as that caused by UV light. Symptoms may include a severe sunburn after only a few minutes in the sun, freckling, in sun exposure areas, dry skin, and that looks bad. Whew. Avoiding, okay, so let's see. Avoiding UV light and using sunscreen and UV light and UV bright sun conditioning may prevent melanoma. Treatment typically is removal by surgery of the melanoma and the potential affected adjacent tissue bordering the melanoma. In those with slightly larger cancers, nearby lymph nodes may be tested for spread of metastasis. All right, so all right, and it says here, melanoma globally in 2012 and newly occurred in 232,000 people in 2015. 3.1 million people had active disease, which resulted in 59,800 deaths. Australia and New Zealand have the highest rates of melanoma in the world. High rates also occur in Northern Europe and North America, while it is less common in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. In the United States, melanoma occurs about 1.6 times more often in men than women. Melanoma has become more common since the 1960s in areas mostly populated by people of European descent. European. So there you go. Okay. Like I said, I'm not going to read all through this stuff, but I'm just giving you a general census of what, it's all about. But we're going to go ahead and get the scripts here. We're going to start off with the book of Genesis. It's going to be Genesis chapter 25. Genesis 25, and we're going to start at... I'm going to start at 23. And this is when Rebecca inquired of the Lord of, why is she why these two children are struggling within her. And the Lord said in Genesis chapter 25 verse 23, and the Lord Yahweh said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. Oh, and another thing too that you could look up is the vitamin D, okay, which goes into the strength and mineralization of bones, because and and that's another thing too, is that so-called white people, Edomites, they're vitamin D inefficient. Okay. Let's see. And so it says the 2 manner of people shall be separated from their bowels, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. So, if you really think about it, Jake has always been stronger than Esau. Okay? Because, physically, health-wise, the reason why it doesn't seem like health-wise because because Esau Edom's trying to do everything he can to, with his pseudoscience and all his, his medicine, which is nothing more than his witchcraft. He tries to make it seem like we're the inferior. When we're not. We're actually superior. The fact that we have melanin gives us a whole variety of advantages over Esau and his people. We got, let's see. Okay, and in verse 24 it says, and when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. 25, and the first came out red, all over like an hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. And remember, the name Esau means wasted away is he, because he lacks melanin. He was born a clean leper. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 old when she bare them. Okay? Now we're going to go to Leviticus here. It's going to be chapter 13. Now, when we were talking about earlier, vitiligo, which is when your skin loses that pigment, and then you have albinism. So vitiligo is a medical condition, while albinism is genetic, something to be born with. So let's get Leviticus chapter 13 and see what it says here. Leviticus chapter 13. There we go, Leviticus 13, and we're going to start at let's see here. Start at verse 9, and it says, when the plague of leprosy is in a man, then he shall be brought unto the priest. Verse 10, and the priest shall see him, and behold, if the rising be white in the skin, and if it have turned the hair white, and there be quick raw flesh in the rising, it is an old leprosy in the skin of the flesh, and the priest shall pronounce him unclean, and shall shut him up, for he is unclean. Verse 12, and if the leprosy break out abroad the skin, and the leprosy cover all the skin of him that hath the plague, from his head even to his foot, wheresoever the priest looketh. Verse 13, then the priest shall consider, and behold, it is, if the leprosy have covered all his flesh, he shall pronounce him clean that hath the plague. It is all turned white, he is clean. Okay, verse 14, but when raw flesh appeareth in him, he shall be unclean. Okay, so if you're born, so these Edomites, the so-called white people, they are clean lepers. They're born that way. Okay? And for those that are born with albinism, basically a so-called black person that appears to have so-called white skin, or blonde hair, lighter hair, it's clean. But when it comes to vitiligo, that's a skin condition where you have certain spots in your skin that are missing that melanin, that you're pronounced unclean. Okay, but overall leprosy is a curse. Okay, it is a curse. It's pronounced, it's pronounced unclean. Now I'm gonna get the book of Hebrews. It's going to be chapter 11, and it's going to be verse 8, I think it is. Hebrews 11, and I'll start at verse 11. Hebrews 11:11. Through faith also Sarah herself received strength to conceive seed, and was delivered of a child when she was past age, because she judged unfaithful who had promised. And that child that Sarah bare by Abraham was Isaac. Verse 12, therefore sprang there even of one, and him as good as dead. Talking about Esau, because Esau, Edom, the fact that they lack melanin, that means they're vitamin D inefficient, their bone density, it's not as durable. It's not sturdy. It doesn't last like ours does. And also another thing too about so-called white people, they age horribly. They age horribly. And the fact that they're born leprous, they're born sick. They are sick. I don't care how healthy they are. They lack melanin, which is the one thing that keeps you, that prevents, diseases, bacteria, prevents UV light. They lack the one basic thing that keeps all these things from happening to them. And so many as the stars and the sky in multitude, and as the sand which is by the seashore innumerable. So Jacob, okay? Jacob is the one that is stronger. He is the one that's superior. He's the one that's, going to prosper, while Esau, Edom, are, they're they're more vile than the earth. They are as death. Okay? And, I did a little bit of research on this, and, just thought I'd bring it out to the spirit, and hopefully that was edifying to the body and to the sincere listeners. So, whatever, I don't listen to Esau's pseudoscience, because, when you try to do your research, Esau, he'll put in some shit right there. You can usually filter out to tell what's a lie and what isn't. And, Esau, Edom, in his pride, he's willing to do whatever it takes to try and prove that his people are better than ours. But that's not the way. That's not. But in the Lord's eyes, we're the ones that are better. Okay, He chose us. He didn't choose them. So with that, I hope that this was edifying. All praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakha Kodash. Double honors and respect to the elders and to the apostles, a great millstone. Peace and blessing to all Akim that are preaching and teaching this word with 100% truth and sincerity. And unto the men, women, and children that are listening and learning. And unto the Baith of Davadah, the elect house of David, that is scattered abroad, I give you my utmost and sincere salutations. See you on the next lesson, Lord willing. Kwam Yasharallah, Wa Bababal, Shalom, Barakatam.